Hello everyone and happy Friday. The week's almost over, but thanks to PlayStation, we've got a swell of announcements that have just come out of nowhere. Old Jim Ryan and Herman Holst have just taken everything possible and thrown it at us. And I'm joined here today by Ewan, and he's going to try and help me break down this kitchen sink of announcements. How are you, Ewan?
Oh my god, Ben Roy, I want to bottle up this energy just so I can live off it, just siphon it, and I'll just have like a can of this energy hooked up to my heart, and I'll just be there, just occasionally when I'm feeling low, I'll be like, oh, remember the PlayStation Showcase, because oh my god, what an amazing series of announcements. I was hooting, I was hollering, I was jumping off my couch, I was screaming, it was a terribly embarrassing sight, but you know what? I don't care because all of this was so cool to see.
It was one of those events that shocks the energy back into you, and it was so weird because there was so much of there's a variety of things, there was something here for everyone, even the announcements where I was kind of sitting there just yeah, that's fine, then you just get a gut punch again, and then another right hook by Herman or Jim, just straight away, one after the other. But let's roll straight into the announcements. And after we I think it was straight after we had a little speech from Jim, or before, we had was the first footage CGI trailer of the remake of the Knights of the Old Republic, a little game that a few Star Wars fans kind of love a lot, and PlayStation never really got it back in the day. So I'm going to throw this one straight to you, and Knights of the Old Republic remake.
Yeah, it's so great to see this actually finally confirmed. You know, we've been picking loads of really good scoopers. I think Jordan Mason from CineLinks, he was the first person to break this story, I think, at the beginning of 2020. And, there were lots of people who were kind of like, is it going to happen, is it not? And now we finally have confirmation that Aspyr are going from just, doing HD ports and remasters of classic Star Wars games, like the original Knights of the Old Republic, which they did for iPad, and then obviously they've been doing the Jedi Knight series.
10 years ago, that one.
And Star Wars, and Star Wars Racer 2. And now they're doing a fully fledged Knights of the Old Republic remake that will be a PS5 exclusive at launch, but then will be later coming to PC at a later date. Like you say, the CGI trailer didn't really show off much. We got a cool little bit of narration, and then obviously that great moment where Revan pops his lightsaber and you see that iconic mask. It looks brilliant. There has been some confusion I've seen online from people who are confused about whether or not... There has been confusion about people who have been confused. That's really clever, Ewan. But there have been some confusion about whether or not this game is going to take place in the new Star Wars canon or not. And there has been some back and forth on here. And the short answer is, we don't know yet. The interesting thing that I saw was that on the official Star Wars website, there was an interview with the lead devs of Aspyr from Dan Brooks, who mentioned there was a line in there about KOTOR, the original KOTOR, and vaguely, specifically, taking place in Legends continuity, and people were like, well, are you referring to the new remake or the old games? And he clarified that the Legends reference was specific to the old KOTOR games. So that isn't a confirmation that the new game is going to have canon elements. The rumours that we've heard so far, dating back before the announcement, was that this would be taking Knights of the Old Republic into the new canon. But whether or not you care about this thing is immaterial. Just make your own Star Wars universe. It's fine, we can just vibe. But I think we should hopefully get some clarity over that situation soon.
Who was it that appeared in? We won't do it on Star Wars too much longer. In the was it Clone Wars? We
Bane?
had
Was it Darth Bane?
I think Bane. Someone from that sort of era, and I just couldn't put it out of my brain. But it would be smart if they did the remake and then reconstituted what they had via Disney, via the mouse himself, and then sort of made it fit within this new canon that we've been in for a while now. So yeah, I'm ready for it. Coming off the Mass Effect trilogy remake remaster, just getting me back into those games again, and it's nice to see Aspyr step up and not just do a straight port and get to do something a bit more meaty, really. But as we shift further on, because there's 74,000 announcements.
I'm looking at all the notes right now. I'm terrified.
Project Eve, which is something that I totally forgot about, and then I was like, oh yes, this was shown 2 years ago briefly, which is a game that I just got massive Bayonetta vibes, because it is just extremely super powered lady with massive guns just going through destroying anything in her way, and at the same time it looks awesome. Awesome in the way where there's so many flashing lights and things being destroyed in my face that I can't sort of think at certain points. But at the same time, I'm here for it, and I almost thought it was a Final Fantasy related, because I was like, is this... I know it's not going to be Final Fantasy, but it just felt like the world looked like we were in that world of
you'll
Final Fantasy
appreciate
remake.
this, because I saw like the kind of like there were the different outfits that they were showing off, and there was one point where it was like kind of like the school kind of uniform on the top, and I was like, is this some kind of gritty Sailor Moon kind of reboot? Obviously it's not that. I'm just showing my complete naivety here, but yeah, no, I thought it looked really cool. I love the designs. The art direction overall looks absolutely boss. And, you know, it's another testament to the power of these next-gen consoles that we're hopefully going to see actually get utilized going forward. So,
coming out of South Korea as well. It's nice to see a game of this stature coming out of there that may not be just, like, say, a massive like online sort of service at the same time. But if we move swiftly on to Tiny Tina's getting her own game. Ewan, are you more of in the Borderlands realm? Do you know of Tiny Tina?
I love the first two Borderlands games. I haven't played the threequel, I think, just generally because it arrived so late that at that point my brain that was reserved for Borderlands space was occupied by some other kind of interest. But no, this looks cool. You know, it's like a Dungeons and Dragons inspired fantasy, you know, Borderlands twist game, which I think is, you know, fun enough. And obviously Tiny Tina is a fan favorite character from that series. And, you know, this definitely looks like a case, you know, Dungeons and Dragons is kind of, you know, come back massively over the last, you know, 5 years or so. So, you know, I imagine Borderlands fans will be pretty hyped for that. Overall, it was kind of like just you know, this is a nice-ish announcement. I wasn't particularly fussed by it, but, you know, Borderlands has its own niche in the FPS kind of loot shooter area. And this is another great way to distinguish itself further from others in that genre.
Yeah, and it makes sense for them to go back to this Borderlands franchise again, because they'd been dancing around so many other sort of properties for so long. When Borderlands 2 was his Goliath, and just sitting there, and Borderlands 3 has come out and not... I don't want to say taking them over storm. It's come out again and reasserted the Borderlands brand, and just keep doing Borderlands if Borderlands works. And it's also nice to see this cel-shaded world back again. I'm just going to say it like that. So, rolling on to another game, because there's still 74 games left to go. Forspoken was announced, and this one's interesting to me because not only did it start off with a bit of a fake out with our lead protagonist being in what felt like today's New York, and then shifted into a new dimension and sort of being unaware of that, and having a companion in her rear that's like, you can do this, you can do that. But the fact is, it's got Amy Hennig and of Uncharted fame, and Star Wars' Rogue One's own Gary Whitta like writing it. So you've already got some writing shots behind it, and then you step into the trailer, you see what's going on, how they introduce it, and it just feels so natural. And I've got it in my eyes here as I'm sort of speaking to you all now, and I don't think we've seen something like this in a while, and it just feels fresh. What do you think, Ewan?
Yeah, it looks really, really good. It kind of reminded me a little bit of some of the early PlayStation 5, you know, I think it was like the Unreal Engine tech demos that we got a while ago. It kind of reminded me of that. I'm here for it, you know. I kind of was disappointed about the lack of the cat content in there. There was a really cute, fluffy cat that was at the beginning of the trailer.
We've got cats coming soon, though, I think so.
Yeah, but I hope that there was going to be more of that in there. But no, it looks really cool. I enjoy sassy Paul Bettany-esque bracelet thing. And the combat looks fun. The world itself looks really, you know, cute. I think I like the design of it all. And, you know, kind of getting, you know, it is Square Enix again, isn't it? So I'm kind of getting a little bit of kind of Tomb Raider-y, almost, in the movement sense kind of vibes from there. But, you know, it's another new IP. It's something fresh. It's something new. And like you say, that's some really big talent behind it at the studio level with Hennig and Gary Whitta.
I'm just happy to see Hennig back in anything after sort of being floating around in like weird space for so long. And good old Gary, he wrote one of my most favourite Star Wars films, co-wrote it with, as he likes to say, it wasn't just Gary Whitta on his own for the whole time. But yeah, I'm happy. I can't wait to sort of see how this progresses and see more. And I wonder if we're going to jump back and forwards from this new world that they're creating, as well as New York, and if you can bring the cat and shove it in your backpack at some point, because if you do that, you've just got gift gold there. But moving on to a game that has been in development longer than I think any of us have been alive, Rainbow Six Extraction, formerly known as Rainbow Six, was it Quarantine?
Yeah, it was.
What a name Quarantine had. Now, it's sorry about that. It's falling in line with something was in the water where a few companies were like, well, why don't we have co-op based shooters instead of PvP? But then now we're in this sort of pool of PvE where Aliens Fireteam Elite is out right now. Back 4 Blood is coming out soon. I think there's a few more floating around in our ether at all time now, and Rainbow Six Extraction is due to hit in January. I'm lukewarm on it. I love Siege. You love Siege. I'll let you jump into Siege in a minute about this, Ewan. But also, I'm just happy to see characters more realised and not just be skins, like Ash having more of a prevalent role. And I just want to get your thoughts on what you think about this new game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not as positive as you might be suspecting, just because I think at this point, what even is the Tom Clancy brand for Ubisoft? Before back in the day, it would be like semi, I can't say realistic, but grounded military tactical shooters.
Splinter Cell and Rainbow went for
exactly, and now we're in a situation where just any game with gun is Tom Clancy for Ubisoft, and this is just such a left field decision, and I just don't understand what the point is in making this a Rainbow Six game. I mean, the reason why that game took off was because of the PvP multiplayer, which is, brilliantly well tuned and balanced despite its a few technical issues that it has. So I don't understand this, and I feel as though it's a stopgap for something maybe more compelling from UB and the Tom Clancy brand. Although, since Siege, I don't think we've really had a Tom Clancy game that has really kind of, stood out to me as being worthwhile of that brand name. But that's just me. That was the one bummer from this entire conference. I thought I'm not fussed about it at all.
I what you say would probably be a hardcore Tom Clancy fan, all the way from all the old Ghost Recon games before even 360. Everyone, even Siege now has basically has magic in it and other sort of spells, abilities that basically spells. So it's going to be interesting to see how that is taken in, and if people just feel like it's, well, we have these characters, we're just going to throw them into a sort of alien sort of situation where you almost could have felt like, well, could you have just put this into a more realistic setting? But then are there too many sort of negative connotations around that and terrorism and all that sort of thing at the moment? But let's move on to something that got announced the day before, but I'm majorly something I thought never would happen. Good old Big Alan, he's woken up. Alan Wake is back. Remastered. Big Owl's coming to PlayStation for the first time. He's coming to PS4. You can get a free upgrade to PS5, and it's going to also be on Xbox. You can also play Alan Wake right now via backwards compat. But this new remastered Big Owl isn't just a nice fresh coat of paint. We're getting essentially a remastered face to look more like the voice actor himself. And just all from the lighting to everything else you see in the few stills we've had, and then this trailer looks like it's bringing it more in line with what Control was doing. And I hope that they maybe even add a little tinkle, a little sprinkle bit more to sort of guide it more into the Control sort of sphere. If not, this is coming out because, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get an Alan Wake and Control merger down the line. But what do you think of this, Ewan?
Yeah, no, I'm just hyped. I have nothing substantial to contribute to this other than that A, I'm excited, and B, Alan Wake was the last game that I rented from Blockbuster multiple times when it first came out. So, I'm here for more. I'm here for more of Big Al. I'm super hyped for this. I loved that game so much, despite its kind of weird finale. But such a great, satisfying combat system, very atmospheric, totally unique, and yeah, his rolling on the hopeful, inevitable Control Wake crossover.
Yeah. And moving on to a game that it feels like the ghost of video games past. GTA 5 is coming out once again natively for PS5.
I refuse to talk about this. It's gone. It's a game that came out 2 generations ago.
I just let you know, I was in retail at the time when this came out, and it's so long ago I can't remember what else I was doing. But yes, GTA 5 is coming out. It's going to have GTA Online. March-ish 2022. Just reminds me I'm going to replay GTA 3 and Vice City before that, and then not play this. Moving on to a game that has been floating around also for a while. A lot of floaters that are sort of returning to the forefront here, I'm going to say. Ghostwire, which is Phil Spencer's Bethesda's own. I think it's not Bethesda, sorry, Tango Gameworks' own Ghostwire Tokyo, their first game since The Evil Within 2. And this one's interesting because at first we were chatting briefly before this video started, and we both had very different impressions of what this game would be. You'd think it'd almost be like third person to an extent, because that's what Tango's done before, and third person seems to be the go-to. But a lot of other games within the Bethesda publishing have been first person, and this is going first person, but not with guns, with more things, abilities that you can shoot off your fingers in Tokyo, which is taken over by what looks like an army of Slendermen.
An army of Slendermen, yeah, you're totally right. It looks good. I kind of, like you say, I thought it was going to be a third-person game, but I'm totally here for it. I'm blown away by the art direction and just how creepy it is. I love the idea of taking this locale of, like, usually when we associate with horror games, we think of like dark, decrepit areas, but I love the idea of making a bright, neon-lit city feel like truly creepy, because everyone's been there in a city like kind of late at night and there's not many people around or whatever. Occasionally you just encounter those points in time where everything just feels eerily deserted, and I like how it's tapping into that. And I'm looking forward to this game.
It's one that we're going to get on, well, there's going to be on PlayStation first and eventually come to Xbox at a certain time, but I just can't wait to see more of this, and I can't wait to jump into Tokyo, really. Next up, then we start rolling into the Marvel Presents segment of this show, where it's something like just Stan Lee came back and was like, no, this is my show now, everyone, and I'm going to roll this in and let you go with this one, Ewan. Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, what do you think of this?
I'm not too big on Guardians still. I still think it's a little bit too MCU adjacent for me, and I think that's a big problem with the Square Enix games in general. I just think that, having looked at them with Marvel's Avengers as well, I think it does a disservice to both Square and, kind of the license in general, that unfortunately for them, obviously it's not going to be a complete MCU carbon copy, but I feel as though by leaning into that area, it's going to have its own version of awesome mix and stuff. So I just don't know. It's not original enough for me at this point in time. I think it's funny, but the few creative decisions with, regards to the fact that you can only play as Peter Quill, the fact that, it is kind of leading into those MCU tones, it feels like a bit of a waste. However, from that gameplay trailer, I did think the space combat looked pretty fun. And if there are more interactions with Cosmo, and obviously doing all the other stuff with the Guardians in the Milano as well, that'd be pretty cool. But overall, I'm not too fussed. But can we move on to the next? Can we move on to the other Marvel games, because I just want to dive into them.
Let's quickly slide over these next ones because they're very quick announcements.
Yes.
So let's just say we say them. We have Blood Hunt, which is a vampiric Battle Royale. It's going to be free to play. Looking forward to seeing a different take on Battle Royale, but at the same time, you can join. You can sign up for the beta now, and that's Blood Hunt. We've got Deathloop again. Deathloop is out so soon. Going to be out so soon now, and I'm sure people around the world are playing it in preparation for what's coming. So Deathloop, I'm sold by that game. I have it pre-ordered. I'm gonna pick it up. By your nods, Ewan, I'm not gonna let you speak. I'm just gonna say Ewan likes that game. Then we had Kid Nasime. I'm gonna say this is the dyslexic
game.
This is the dyslexic brain coming out again. Epic Games and Radiohead come together for an experience which felt like something out of a dark nightmare. We'll see what that looks like down the line. Tchia looked like a lovely little game at first, yes, which was harkening off The Last of Us 2 with its guitar mechanics there. I was like, is this going to be The Last of Us 2 for kids? But then it's not. Tchia looks lovely, and it's nice to have more of a variety of games that isn't just photorealistic and saying like we're just experimenting more, that isn't just sort of like a bug snacks. And I look forward to see this coming out soon. Then Nathan Drake returned with the Uncharted Legacy of Thieves collection. So it's Uncharted 4 and Lost Legacy back together. Together for the first time. Remastered for PS5, one of the best looking games remastered apparently, and then also on PC. So they're finally making the jump to PC along with Uncharted 1, 2 and 3. But now I'm going to hand it back to you, Ewan, because there was a little game next which kind of gave me shocks at Wolverine, where he remembers Stryker and is like, Wolverine! And I'm just like, oh! And I remembered X-Men was the thing that I loved. But Ewan, take it away.
Yeah, so we got the first Insomniac trailer here, and to begin with, I thought this was this was going to be the Spider-Man 2 trailer. But slowly as you pan around, you see the man with his iconic cowboy hat and his flannel shirt on. And then you notice the knuckles. There are kind of like wounds around the knuckles, and then the claws pop. And we see, yes, that Insomniac are working on a Wolverine title. So excited for this. It's further away, than Spider-Man 2 will be, which we'll get to later. It's done by the team who did Miles Morales, with Brian Horton and Cameron Christian again returning to helm the game. Not much in the way of details here. However, my nerdy, insightful mind has picked out two things from the trailer that are pretty important. When Wolvie is at the bar, if you look to the right, you can see a license plate that says HLK181. That is Wolverine's first appearance in the comics. He appeared in a Hulk game. A Hulk comic. And then the other thing as well, the actual location in the trailer is the Princess Bar, which is in Madripoor in the comics. Now, all the X-Men fans watching this right now are probably going crazy because, yes, Madripoor is a massive location in the X-Men mythos, and for Wolverine in particular. There was a period in the comics where he donned an eye patch and called himself Patch, and he just kind of roamed around in Madripoor. So if this is Wolverine's great big Madripoor adventure, I'm pretty excited. And if they let me dress up as Patch with the eye patch, I'm going to be even more excited. I was not expecting it. I know Wolverine is kind of a character that's been done to death in this medium, but if anyone's going to do him justice and, do him in a fresh new light, like they did with Spider-Man, then it's Insomniac.
As I was saying in the group chat last night, I was happy to see Wolverine back because I feel like we've had a break. Logan was the last thing I can remember that was anything remotely relevant in Wolverine in the sphere that I consume. I'm not jumping into the comics and everything else all the time, so it feels like Wolverine's been gone long enough. Gran Turismo 7 is coming March 4th, 2022. This is Sony's big jump back in to try and make a jab at Microsoft because Force has basically run the roost for so long, and it's nice to see a franchise that's been around since the PlayStation 1 return, but moving swiftly on. And then Spider-Man came up. Spider-Man 2. Ewan, Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, no, totally again, amazing. We get a shot of them in a deserted New York street with a narration that they haven't confirmed it, but I'm fairly certain that's Kraven the Hunter. If you're going to have a guy with a kind of Eastern European accent that's quite gravelly talking about having to find the right challenge with Spider-Man, it's definitely Kraven the Hunter. We see Miles and Peter teaming up to take down some thugs. Peter's got some new Iron Spider-esque arms on his back. Obviously in the first game that was an ability that you could have, but it seems as though maybe this could be integrated more directly into the actual outfit itself. That's just me speculating there. Of course, though, the big thing is, as Kraven is talking, he talks about finding someone to challenge him, and then we see down a dark alley, and then Venom's there. And the coolest thing about this is it wasn't included in the actual presentation, but Insomniac wrote up a blog on the PlayStation blog shortly afterwards confirming that Tony Todd, the goddamn Candyman, is voicing Venom, which is the absolute coolest voice casting decision ever.
Yeah.
And Ben Roy, we all knew it was coming. We all knew this was going to happen, but to see it actually there with the redesigned box art with the black on the white and just everything, Insomniac can do no wrong to me.
Insomniac don't sleep. Basically, is what I'm assuming, and having Tony Todd in there. Candyman's Tony Todd, maybe we get some aggression from him when he was in The Rock. But this has reminded me that I should really dive back into the first Spider-Man game and catch up because I'm hyped as I am for Wolverine. I feel like it's time. I feel like they've really taken the license and they're doing something that just what we'll want. And Venom's gonna be cool. Moving on to the final game. This was the big hitter. Got a little game called God of War Ragnarok was shown for the first time, more than just a logo. And this is a sequel to the last game, but in a weird way, the completion of their Norse story. So wondering where the game will go from there. There were parts of the last God of War that hinted that it could go to other realms, and there's a nice little realm which had a lot of Egyptian stuff in there. I would love to see Kratos going around smashing up pyramids. But in this, it's Kratos and Atreus, it seems a few years on because Atreus is in that sort of he's smashing into puberty as he is, and they're trying to stop Ragnarok basically, hence the title Ragnarok. And Atreus is trying to work out what it means for him to be Loki and what it means for him to be all around that sort of sphere. And he wants to find out answers rather than start fights. But at the same time, he's questioning, is the only way I'm going to find this out is by fighting? And Kratos being the god of war and having seen so much pain, death, and destruction, and basically destroyed half the globe before he got to his shack in the woods and was trying to hide, he's trying to sort of like calm his child down. So I'm interested in seeing how this story plays out. We're going to get Thor. We're going to get a different looking Thor with a nice big round belly. I can't wait to see that sort of character for and Kratos go head to head and how they go. But I just want to get your last thoughts on this, Ewan, before we wrap up.
Super quick. I think this looks absolutely stunning. Stunning Santa Monica, pat themselves on the back. It just looks absolutely incredible. I love the addition of the dog sled, either a wolf sled or a dog sled, I don't know, but I'm just super excited to see more of this. It looks like we're going to get some more interaction in terms of hub-esque elements as well, where they go down. I think it's like they're on a boat and they come into a town and stuff. I'm super excited to see everything about this. It's just such a cool interpretation of Norse mythology and the pantheon. Hyped to see Tyr, hyped to see just everything going forward, and obviously looking to the future even further after this, the idea of them moving into different mythologies is also very cool, like you said. And
that was every game that was announced and everything that was around there. Whew, we're going to take a break. There's so much to decompress and go through again. We did as best we could. There's so many games to go through. I'm sure we'll have a swell of breakdowns from these new Marvel titles, God of War and everything else, and I'll shout about Alan Wake somehow on the website and on the channel, so don't worry about that. But until then, I've been Ben Roy Turner. You can follow me at Ben Roy Turner on Twitter. You can also follow Ewing at
Ewan Ruins Things.
And follow us all at WCulture Gaming. But until next time, let's all go to bed. Good night.
Goodbye.